Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, April the 21st. Race number 9 at Keeneland. It's the Grade 3 Doubledogdare Stakes. Fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th with the short stretch at Keeneland. Let's take a look at this field. Please scan or click the QR code for Race of the Day access on mobile with free formulator past performances. $300,000 the purse for the Doubledogdare, and your morning line favors the number 4, Interstate Daydream, who did the best she could when third to two of the best fillies and mares in the country, that being Secret Oath and Clairiere in the Grade 2 Azeri last time out. Little class relief here.
Yeah, it definitely is. I guess did just about what they probably wanted her to do off the layoff last time, Dan, considering who she was facing in that spot. She had a lot of potential as a 3-year-old, didn't end that campaign on the highest note. But before that, she looked pretty good, and she was fine off the layoff.
And she likes to be forwardly placed, and that might help her out in a race like the Doubledogdare as we take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for our Friday race of the day, and there she is. The number 4, Interstate Daydream, expected to be up close, if not outright on the lead. Hidden Connection has shown some speed in the past. Frostpoint, the number 3, was on the lead last time, but through slow fractions, she is just as comfortable from off of it.
Yeah, she doesn't need the lead. They just put her there last time in a short field when the pace was slow, but she probably won't make it in this spot, Dan, but as you've already pointed out, she doesn't have to.
30 to 1 shot has the highest late pace figure on Timeform US. That's the number 6, Music Street. You see the LP over the chiclet on Timeform US PPs. Let's start things off by talking with the number 1 Traverse, a really improved filly trained by Riley Mott. This one's won 4 of her last 5 starts, including 2 consecutive allowance races at Oaklawn Park. Here's her most recent start on March 17th, going a mile with the short stretch. She sat just off the manageable pace, took over in the stretch, and I liked the way she finished it off.
I like all of her dirt races, Dan. Still really lightly raced. It feels like there's still forward to go for this filly. And I think if nothing else, she deserves a shot here in a much tougher race for her. And it is going to be tougher. There are some good fillies in here, but she just keeps getting better with every start. As you know, I'm with you on her last start. She looked really good winning that day. She's probably going to be a fair price in here too. I think she's pretty interesting.
Joel Rosario takes them out for young Riley Mott. The number 2 is Greenup, going out for trainer Todd Pletcher. This filly reeled off 4 consecutive victories to kick off her 2022 campaign, including a dusting of Interstate Daydream in the Catherine Sophia at Parks. Subsequently, she was the favorite in the Grade 1 Cotillion. She came up a little bit short against a quality filly in Society. Greenup earned a very big figure 2 starts back, Mike.
Yeah, I mean I guess that's the kind of race that she ran there that makes it tough to sort of decide what to do with it here, because to me that's really the only one that she's run that makes her all that interested in here, especially at 3 to 1 on the line. Then I mean, maybe she's that good. She certainly looked good winning that day. I didn't like a cotillion that much, although I guess maybe you're just not supposed to be that hard on her for that race. I think she'll be forward in here. I think she can win. Not sure if I want to take that morning line price.
This will be her first start since September. She has run well fresh in the past. Mike makes a good point. She has shown speed in the past and maybe breaking from this inner post. She could try to get the jump on some of these going into the first turn. Frostpoint is a Godolphin homebred by Frosted, and she scored last time out in the Heavenly Prize, going a 1-turn mile at Aqueduct for Bill Mott. And Frostpoint just walked the dog on the lead in this race. Very easy pace, 25 and 149 flat, but it's worth noting that the runner-up, Odds on Falconet, was right with Frostpoint on the backstretch, and Frostpoint dusted her, and it's not like Falconet's gone off form. She bounced out of this race to win the top flight with a 96 buyer. I think this mare is finally fulfilling her potential.
I do too, and that's probably the key takeaway, Dan. I mean, I know she's 5 with only 10 career starts, but it always felt like she was cut out to be pretty good, and for whatever reason, she could just never really get a campaign together. Maybe she'll finally do that this year. I think each of her 2 starts since they've come back off the long layoff are really good, and I know it was a soft trip last time, but she just absolutely jogged in there, and she was really good winning 2 starts back against another horse who's gone on to do some pretty good things, Timeless Journey.
The 4 is Interstate Daydream, your morning line favorite for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. She won a couple of graded stakes races last year before being upended by Greenup in the Catherine Sophia. Cox gave her plenty of time after that race, brought her back in a salty edition of the Azeri. All in all, it was a pretty good trip. She saved ground in behind the pace. I'm not sure if Flo really wanted to come up the inside. It looked like he wanted to get out an upper stretch. There was nowhere to go. Interstate Daydream finished just fine. But again, these are two of the better fillies in the country. They just threw on a show with a 1-2 finish in the Apple Blossom with stereo 102 buyers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she does her best with this trip. And I think this trip was a good one. I think your point's well taken that it felt like Giroux probably wanted to go outside through the stretch, but she was clear down on the rail with plenty of time. And I thought she did her best there, Dan. Those two horses are just a little bit too good for her. That was an okay finish to be third in there. First start off the left. She could obviously get better here. You know, it's your call whether you want to take some kind of short price on her, but she's probably the horse to beat.
The number 5, Moonswag, was grade 3 placed at 40-1 back as a 3-year-old in 2021. She did win a little stakes race at the fairgrounds to close out her 2022 season. 2 starts this year, only even performances, no match for Interstate Daydream in the Azeri. She was 8th that day.
Yeah, mostly held her own. It felt like sort of early on anyway as a 3-year-old. They tried her in some of the graded stakes races through the spring and summer. I guess she ran, fine in some of those races. And it does kind of feel like she's better now than she was then. She did miss an awful lot of time before she came back last October. I just think this is a really tough spot for her, Dan. And she has that kind of running style, which at least now anyway, it makes it feel like she's going to have to pass an awful lot of horses in here. And I think that's trouble.
The number 6, Music Street, will make her seasonal debut. She'll make her stakes debut, and her most recent start was a good one. It was at Churchill Downs, going 1.25 miles in a first-level allowance. She finished strongly to win those races, but Mike, it's been our experience, I think. We've seen these 1.25 mile allowance races at Churchill. They run them sporadically, and they seem to lack a little bit of depth.
Yeah, they do. To me, they're kind of mostly for slow horses. This horse obviously really likes distance. And I can't knock either of those 2 wins that she put together at the end of last year, Dan. I mean, I thought she ran pretty well in both of those races. It doesn't mean that I like her in here, but man, she's really lightly raced. I can see her taking another step forward. I just don't think I'm going to bet her against this field.
The number 7, Hidden Connection, was a graded stakes winner at 2. She's already graded stakes placed at 4, and she was graded stakes placed last year, which you have to sort of look at is the last race, the Azeri. What do you make of that performance? She just didn't fire that day behind Interstate Daydream. She has plenty of lines better than that, Mike. 2 starts back in the Houston Ladies Classic. I was a little disappointed she got beat by Pauline's Pearl. I know Pauline's Pearl's good, but Pauline's Pearl was coming off the bench.
Yeah, I was disappointed with that race too, and she was obviously took a step back last time, although you're probably not supposed to hold the Azeri against her too much. I mean, I guess, Dan, what you're supposed to do maybe in some ways is just go off of some of her prior races. And if you liked her in those, then maybe to stick with her here because she's probably going to be a fair price come post time. I'm just not a fan. I didn't like her that much at 2. I didn't like her that much last year at 3. And she hasn't done anything to make me change my mind this year so far.
Completing the field is the stakes winner Shotgun Hottie, earned 3 graded stakes placings in 2022, and in her first start of the year off of a lengthy layoff and first for a very good trainer in Cherie DeVoe, she scored at Oaklawn. Now this is a 3 life allowance race. She's on the outside. She's going to grind this down. The 4th place finisher would come back to win, but against $40,000 starter allowance foes with an 83 buyer. Shotgun Hottie does have tactical speed, can adapt to any pace scenario, kind of grinds it out here, Mike. Think she needs to run a career best.
Yeah, she probably does. This isn't a bad performance, though, considering the long layoff, Dan. And I just, more than anything else, I just think she's a little underrated. She's not, one of the top horses in this division, but she's a little underrated. I agree with you that she's kind of one of those horses who can get any kind of a trip in a race. And I think that's important because maybe she'll fall into a really good one here at a price. I mean, I don't love her, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if she was, first, second, or third in this race.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Kentucky Derby right around the corner. Top pick time for the Doubledogdare. It's the Friday race of the day for DRF. Mike, you're going with Frostpoint. Just a great price on the morning line. I mean, I think half that price is probably fair. She can work out her own trip. Her last 2 races have been good, and I think she's always been a nice horse.
all the things that I was going to point out, Dan. I mean, I like her anyway. And her last two races to me are both really good. As soon as I saw the 12-1 morning line, I knew where I was going.
Same exact, a different order. Mike's going 3-4. I think Interstate Daydream, if she runs back to her last race or some of her races from last year, especially given the fact that she should be close to the pace with the short stretch, gives her a bit of an edge, unfortunately, at a very short price. So Mike's going 3-4-2-1. I'm going 4-3-7-1 in the Doubledogdare at Keeneland on Friday. Best of luck.